In short, the good burghers were fond of their sauerkraut, but they were proud of their clocks. All people who hold sinecure offices are held in more or less respect, and as the Belfry man of wonder what time it is, has the most perfect of sinecures. He is the most perfectly respected man of any in the world. He is the chief dignitary of the borough, and the very pigs look up to him with a sentiment of reverence. His coat tail was very far longer, his pipe, his shoe buckles, his eyes, and his stomach very far bigger than any of those other gentlemen in the village. And as to his chin, it is not only double, but triple. I have thus painted a happy state of wonder what time it is. Alas, that so fair a picture should ever experience a reverse. There's been a long saying among the wisest inhabitants that no good can come from over the hills. And it really seemed that the words had in them something of the spirit of prophecy. It wanted 5 minutes of noon on the day before yesterday, when there appeared a very odd-looking object on the summit of the ridge to the eastward. Such an occurrence, of course, attracted universal attention, and every little old gentleman who sat in the leather-bottomed armchair turned one of his eyes with a stare upon dismay upon the phenomenon, still keeping the other upon the clock in the steeple. By the time it wanted only 3 minutes to noon, the droll object in question was perceived to be a very diminutive, foreign-looking young man. He descended the hills at a great rate, so that everybody had soon a good look at him. He was really the most finicky-looking personage that had ever been seen in wonder what time it is. His countenance was of a dark snuff color, and he had a long hooked nose, pea eyes, a wide mouth, and an excellent set of teeth, which latter he seemed anxious of displaying, as he was grinning from ear to ear. What with mustachios and whiskers, there was none of the rest of his face to be seen. His head was uncovered, and his hair neatly done up in papillotes. His dress was a tight-fitting, swallow-tailed black coat, from one of whose pockets dangled a vast length of white handkerchief. Black kerseymere knee-breeches, black stockings and stumpy-looking pumps, and huge bunches of black satin ribbon for bows. Under one arm he carried a huge chapeau de bras, and on the other a fiddle nearly 5 times as big as himself. In his left hand he was a gold snuff-box, from which, as he capered down the hill, cutting all manner of fantastic steps, he took snuff incessantly with an air of the greatest possible self-satisfaction. God bless me, here was a sight for the honest burghers of wonder what time it is. To speak plainly, the fellow had, in spite of his grinning, an audacious and sinister kind of face. As he curveted right into the village, the old stumpy appearance of his pumps excited no little suspicion, and many a burgher who beheld him that day would have been given a trifle for a peep beneath the young camper handkerchief which hung so obtrusively from the pocket of the swallowtail coat. But what mainly occasioned a righteous indignation was that the scoundrelly popinjay, while he cut a fandango here and a whirligig there, did not seem to have the remotest idea in the world of such a thing as keeping time in his steps. The good people of the borough had scarcely a chance, however, to get their eyes thoroughly open, when just as it wanted half minute to noon, the rascal bounced, as I say, right into the midst of them, gave a chassé here and a balancé there, and then, after a poiret and a pas de zephyr, pigeon-winged himself right into the belfry of the house of the town council, where the wonder-stricken belfry man sat smoking in a state of dignity and dismay. But the little chap seized him at once by the nose, gave it a swing and a pull, clapped a big chapeau de bras upon his head, knocked him down over his eyes and his mouth, and then, lifting up the big fiddle, beat him with it so long and so soundly that, with the Belfry man being so fat and the fiddle being so hollow, you would have sworn that there was a regiment of double bass drummers all beating the devil's tattoo up in the belfry of the steeple of wonder what time it is. There is no knowing to what desperate act of vengeance this unprincipled act might have aroused in the inhabitants, but for the important fact that it now wanted only half a second of noon. The bell was about to strike, and it was a matter of the absolute preeminent necessity that everybody should look well at his watch. It was evident, however, that just this moment this fellow in the steeple was doing something that he had no business to do with the clock. But as it now began to strike, nobody had any time to attend to his maneuvers, for they all had to count the strokes of the bell as it sounded. 1, said the clock. 1, echoed every little old gentleman, every leather-bottomed armchair, and wonder what time it is. 1, said his watch also. 1, said his watch. It was fro. And 1, said the watches of the boys, and the little gilt repeaters and the tails of the cat and pig. 2, continued the big bell, and the do, repeated all the repeaters. 3, 4, 5, vibe. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, den, said the bell, answered the others. 11, said the big one. 11, assented the little ones. 12, said the bell. 12, they replied, perfectly satisfied and dropping their voices. Und 12 it is, said all the little old gentlemen, poking up their watches. But the big bell had not been done with them yet. 13, said he. They're too full, gasped the old little gentlemen, turning pale, dropping their pipes, putting down the right legs from their left knees. They're too full, groaned they. 13, mein Gott, it is 13 o'clock. Why attempt to describe the terrible scene which ensued? All wondered what time it is, flew at once into a lamentable state of uproar. What is kommt to mein Pilly? Roared all the boys. I've been hungry for this hour. What is kommt to mein Kraut? Screamed all the rows. It has been done to rags for this hour. What is kommt to mein Pipe? Swore all the little old gentleman. Donner and Blitzen, it has been smoked out for this hour. And they filled them up again in a great rage, and sinking back in their armchairs, puffed away so fast and so fiercely that the whole valley was immediately filled with impenetrable smoke. Meantime, the cabbages had turned very red in his face, and it seemed as if old Lick himself had taken possession of everything in the shape of a timepiece. The clocks carved upon the furniture took to dancing as if bewitched, while those upon the mantelpieces could scarcely contain themselves for fury, and kept such a continual striking of 13, and such a frisky and wriggling of their pendulums as was really horrible to see. But worst of them all, neither the cats nor the pigs could put up any longer with the behavior of the little repeaters tied their tails, and resented by scampering all over the place, scratching and poking and squeaking and screeching and caterwauling and squalling and flying into the faces and running under the petticoats of the people, and creating altogether the most abominable din and confusion which it is possible for a reasonable person to conceive. And to make matters still more distressing, the rascally little scapegrace in the steeple was evidently exerting himself to the utmost. Every now and then one might catch a glimpse of this counter through the smoke. There he sat in the belfry upon the Belfry man, who was lying flat upon his back. In his teeth the villain held the bell rope, which he kept jerking about with his head, raising such a clatter that my ears ring again even to think of it. On his lap lay the big fiddle, at which he was scraping out all the time in tune, with both hands making a great show, the nincompoop, of playing Judy O'Flanagan and Paddy O'Rafferty. Affairs being thus miserably situated, I left the place in disgust and now appeal for aid to all lovers of correct time and fine crowd. Let us proceed in a body to the borough and restore the ancient order of things and wonder what time it is, by ejecting that little fellow from the steeple.